Okay. Boom. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's, what time is it? 7:02 p.m. I think we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So should we all stand or sit or? Oh, there's a flag. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States
States of America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. Okay, do we have any members of the public here? Hearing nothing, I guess we'll move on to the fourth item, which would be the reports. And I believe the first one is the secretary regarding the minutes. Did anyone have any changes, additions, corrections to the minutes?
No,
Could I have a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes into the record?
so moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The minutes, okay, now I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved for the meeting of 6/14/2021. The next item is the financial report.
Okay, so got your financial report in your packet. Let me just share my screen here so everybody can see it. Okay, not really too much of note right now. We are in a new fiscal year, so not really much of anything has been spent down. And actually, even though the fiscal year began a month ago, we were really only able to start spending about 2 weeks ago or so. So we've got some funds encumbered, but for the most part, there's no real big hits to anything. The one notable thing is maybe in computer technology, we've spent 25% of that line item that is replacing the phone system that I spoke about in June. The bill for that ended up not coming in until July, so it couldn't be processed until this fiscal year. So that was hoped to be in last fiscal year, but it's in this one.
Are we doing accrual or cash? Cash, I would guess.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Will that be included in last year's?
Oh, no, that'll be included in this year's.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's perfectly fine. Are there any questions about the finances? Okay, great.
Okay. Hearing no questions, I would like to move on again to the library's director's report.
Okay, so we are reaching the end of the summer reading program. August 20th is the last day for people to submit tickets. We have 90 registrants so far, which is pretty good, mostly adults and children. Young adult participation has been less than what I'd like to see. So we're going to be focused on increasing interest among that group next year. But overall, I'm happy with the program. It's the first year we're doing it like this, and it's been a couple of years since there's really been a summer reading program here. So I think it's a good start, but there's also a lot of opportunity for growth. In July, the library circulation was 6,194, which is the highest for a single month in about 5 years.
Excellent.
So that's great news. We owe the bump to an increase in the circulation of physical items, some of which we can definitely attribute to that automatic renewal program. But still, even without that, I think it would have been a very good month for us. Gate counts remained pretty steady. A little under 5,000 people came through the doors. And it seems that the same amount of patrons are checking out more items, maybe for others perhaps that don't feel comfortable visiting the building right now.
I did have a question. That doesn't account for people that sign on to our digital things, right?
No,
No,
that's strictly building use.
building use. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
And that's pretty good, especially
Now, I
considering
have
we
a
don't have to.
second question.
Yeah, man.
Kevin, the automatic renewal,
Mhm.
does that count the item twice? Does that count it when they take it out and then count it a second time on the automatic renewal?
It does, but all renewals have always counted that way. So
Oh,
there's a little bit of inflation there because some items that maybe wouldn't have been renewed and just would have been overdue are getting counted as a second circulation. But in my mind, that's just a more accurate reading of who's using our collection. So I don't think it's a problem. But yes, we count, renewals count as a second circulation, as if they had brought it back and checked it back out, essentially.
thanks.
On August 5th, the town reinstated its mask policy for staff and visitors to town buildings. We're keeping our fingers crossed we won't have to restrict services again, but we'll see in the upcoming months. Some other notes, we've hired 2 new staff members who will hopefully begin working at the desk over the next few weeks. They've both been hired at LTA 1 level, and actually one woman started today. The other hire, we're waiting on some tests to come back before we can bring her on board officially. 2 new projects, 2 new materials projects are in process right now to make the collection more accessible to patrons. We're taking our YA section and we are labeling genres for each of the items, or anyone that fits neatly into a genre. So we have colored labels that go over the spine label. So the items all remain in alphabetical order, but if there's one of 5 colors, it fits into sci-fi or romance or paranormal, one of those categories. And we are also relabeling the biographies, which have been shelved in the adult nonfiction. So they just have a Dewey Decimal number, and they're roughly in the section where the person that the biography is about would be shelved with. So we're taking all the biographies, making our own biography section, and relabeling all of them just with B and then the last name of the person the book is about. So for biography browsers, this will be easier for them to just look through all the biographies instead of having to fish through all the other nonfiction. Our staff wiki page, which is the website we use to communicate with all of the part-time staff. We've been using an old version of Google Sites, which will become unavailable in September. Google's getting rid of that version of the service, and the new one that they're coming up with just does not work for our needs. So we've been looking for the last couple of months for a replacement for that service, and we've found one that seems pretty good, just under the wire. So we're going to be transitioning over that probably the next week or so. And I found out a couple of days ago we were awarded $1,000 from the Hebron Greater Together Community Fund grant to bring the Alliance for Collaborative Equity back for 3 programs. So we did end up getting that grant, even though it was a bit later than we thought it was going to be announced. So that's very exciting. And then I can probably mention the building stuff when we get to the building updates. Any questions on what I've reported so far?
Questions for me? Oops.
Excellent, thanks.
Is someone coming in?
No.
No? Okay.
No, just waiting for you to bring up the next item. if you're ready.
Okay, we see the next, you mean building? We haven't done that part of your report yet.
Oh, it's under building updates is under old business.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, moving on.
Get there.
Great stupidity.
Right.
Okay, let's see. And that would be the end of that. The Friends of the Douglas Library report.
We don't have Pam tonight, so I don't think there's a report.
Okay, so we will skip that item. Actually, we'll continue that item to the next meeting. Town Manager Representative. Donna's not here?
I'm here.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, I am here. As Kevin mentioned earlier, we have gone back to requiring masks for all employees and visitors to all the town buildings. With the uptick in the infection rate and the variant, we are, seeing increases. So we want to be careful. We did have one positive case over at the senior center, one of our employees. So we're going to try to be more careful and remind people that if they are feeling ill, if they are not feeling well, they should stay home. They should not come to work, or visitors, they should not enter the buildings. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, and of course, the buildings include the library, correct?
All town buildings, yes. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, see, to the Board of Selectmen.
I have nothing to add to what Donna had to say.
Nothing?
Nothing. Our next meeting is not for another week.
Oh, okay. All right. And then the next one is the chairperson report. And I really don't have much to add myself, so that's that. Okay. Moving on to old business. Finally, building updates.
Okay, so a few things here. The water fountains have been ordered from the ARPA grant, so they should be installed in the next couple of weeks. You can see the cardboard boxes behind me are filled with water fountains. There's also a pipe on the first floor that has a drip that the janitor reported. Bradley Plumbing is going to take a look at that drip when they come and do the water fountains as well. The locker system for out front has been ordered. There's a 2 to 3 month production lead time, so it'll be ready to install somewhere September, October.
Kevin, where is that drip?
It is in the bathroom. It used to be the women's bathroom on the first floor.
That drip has been there for a very long time.
Yeah, he said that he thought it was maybe increasing a little bit. So
that's where the wall is open, right?
Yes, the wall's open.
Yeah, that should have been taken care of a long time ago. But
he will take care of it next time he's in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to have an electric and data port put in before the lockers can be installed. We struggled with air conditioning for most of June, but the problem seems to finally be solved. It wasn't working in several areas of the building, and it became quite uncomfortable for staff and patrons. But after some coordination with ESC, things are much cooler and seem like they're working the way they're supposed to be, which is good. The Public Building Committee sent a letter to the town manager's office recommending that the town accept BPD's roofing consulting proposal of $46,480 to complete pre-construction investigation and documents. And the selectmen did accept that at their the second meeting in June, I believe. Heavy rains in early July found their way inside the building in 2 places. One larger leak seemed to travel down the wall from the computer area by the in the children's floor down into the computer area by the teen zone. And then a second smaller drip was coming through one of the light fixtures on the second floor. So the leaks dried up as soon as the rain stopped, and we haven't noticed them coming back. This was back when we had days and days of really torrential rain. So I think it took a little while to make it that far into the building. But still just a reminder that this roof does need to be repaired at some point. So I know it's being worked on. I also updated the library building project spreadsheet. So the installation of the locker system and water fountains, I already went over, no real change there. The windows for floor 2 and 3 haven't been updated on this sheet because I didn't have anything. I wasn't able to get a hold of Pierce Carpentry when I put out the packet, but I spoke to them today. And they're coming out on Thursday to remeasure the windows with a new window vendor, because that was the issue before, that the vendor we were working with could no longer make the windows that we needed for the rest of the project. So a second vendor is coming out to measure. This is all happening slower than was anticipated. So that means they're probably not going to be installed for a couple more months, even if they're still at the measuring phase. So that's the last part of this project. It was supposed to be easy at this point, the third way through, but we will get through it. I believe that is it for building updates.
Did anyone have any questions?
I do have a quick question on the water fountain.
Yeah.
Will that be open when the Delta variant is still bothering us?
Well, the water fountain won't be open until we're allowed to, but these have water bottle filling stations on them. So I'm gonna have to see what they look like when they open up, but the water bottle filling stations are fine to be open. Just the actual spigot you can't drink from. So if we can put some sort of signage or something to make sure that they don't use the other area, we can have them on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I know in my districts, the schools, we have the bottled ones, but everyone's different.
Yeah, that's why we were able to get the bottled ones, because it's actually a response to COVID. So that was one of the reasons the grant was able to cover that for us.
Our bottles are still shut too. They are
Oh, they are?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering.
Did anyone else have any questions about the building report? Okay, hearing none, I'm moving on to Poet Laureate. Don't everybody speak at once.
Poet Laureate, Althea and Gail and I were going to meet last Wednesday, but Althea was unable to. And Gail sent a couple suggestions regarding two of the documents that I had forwarded to the two of them. And since then, I've been thrown off the internet, so I can't speak. I can't speak to it. I mean, we still have to move forward. It's still been over a year, and we haven't gotten anywhere. But sometime.
You're still working on it, though.
Yeah, I sent her, as Mary Ann said, I did send her in a few suggestions on the documents that we created over a year ago. I think we all the three of us need to look at those before we bring them forward. But in the meantime, it's wonderful that we're accepting poetry and it's being put in Kevin's newsletter.
Okay, any other news about the Poet Laureate? Then moving along to the Strategic Plan Update Committee.
So we've had a couple of meetings with the Strategic Plan Update Committee, and they've been fruitful so far. Where we're at in the process is we had a meeting right before this one where we took a look at some surveys that we prepared for individual respondents and for people that are representing organizations, community partners, we're calling them. And we finalized those survey questions. The plan will be to disseminate them in September. So for the month, we'll be gathering responses, and I'd love it if everybody here could make sure to fill out one of those surveys. And then in October, we're going to gather all those responses and start the brainstorming where we can actually come up with the goals that will be in the strategic plan. But yeah, so far it's been a good group to work with.
Okay. All right, the ACLB board assessment tool, Gail?
Yes, to clear up some confusion over how this was meant to be done. It is a lengthy document. It's meant for library boards to examine what they're doing, how they're fulfilling their roles, what their place is. The instrument itself might seem a little involved, but that's because the libraries in the state of Connecticut service towns of different sizes. They serve advisory boards, governing boards, such as we are, association libraries, municipal libraries. So the point is, in each section, to take out of it what pertains to your board and library. And it's not meant to be done in one night, section by section, so that you can see, are you living up to your responsibilities? You're living up to, every board member serves in a fiduciary capacity. Are you doing what you should be doing? So it's self-reflection. And that's it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? No? Okay.
One
Oh,
thing,
sorry, someone did.
Gail, do you want me to keep it on the agenda or do anything going forward, meeting to meeting?
The only thing going forward would be when we have a chance to start taking one section at a time for us. Libraries generally are starting with the administrative part.
Okay.
To make sure that everyone has read their policy manual, read their bylaws and the like.
So do you want me to include that next month as like an agenda?
Yeah, I'll pick
Work
out
on it?
one item, one section and let you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, excellent, excellent. You might want to add with the agenda item, if Gail can tell you ahead of time, Kevin, what item she's taking up at that meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good, Pat.
Okay. Now we got to the grant updates. Kevin?
Okay. So we got the 3 grants in progress here. So for the American Rescue Plan Act, most of the updates for that were just in the director's report. I'm working on purchasing all the materials that I can right now, that we don't need to have SEPA compliance to install. So that's the other piece, is that we have to be SEPA compliant to be able to do anything that the public can access the internet through. So we're good to install the lockers and we're good to install the water fountains, but I can't really move forward on expanding the Wi-Fi or the laptop checkouts until we get that other piece in place. But it's coming along. The Hebron Community Together grant. So we received it, which is great news. Not a whole lot of movement on that besides just finding out that we got it. I need to reach out to the Alliance for Collaborative Equity, and so we thought we would do these kind of on a quarterly basis. So whether that ends up being winter, spring, summer, or as soon as fall, I think it may end up being late fall if it is fall. We'll get those on the calendar, and then also there is a book club component to it as well, that I've been speaking with members of Code about, to do kind of a book in between the sessions that that addresses the material that was covered in the session as well. So I've just got to start getting those pieces in place and haven't had a chance to work on it yet. And the State Library Building Grant. So the next step with that is that the Board of Selectmen need to approve the application, so it can be submitted by the end of the month, and that's on their agenda for a week from Thursday. So I don't anticipate any issues there, but once we get the proper signatures on there, we'll be able to start the application process and start actually sending documents in.
A week from Thursday is what date?
18th.
19.
19th?
19th.
So we'll make it by the deadline then.
Yeah, we should be fine by the deadline. Yeah.
Okay. Gail, I think this would be you, Director Evaluation.
Well, that's Peter and I.
Oh, sorry, Peter. Is he here? No,
Oh.
Peter's not here. Okay.
Oh, okay. the tool, the evaluation tool, was returned by 6 out of 9 members. We compiled all the numbers together to find out what Kevin's score was on each section. Then Andy and I met, and Peter was, I should say, and Peter, Andy and I met. Then we called in Kevin, and we have a good dialogue on how he's doing, growth areas, and the like. So all in all, this, to sum it up, the board members are pleased with his service, and the evaluation is now in his personnel file.
Okay. So that you're done with the director evaluation for this year.
Correct. He's
Oh,
got
excellent.
goals, and we just have to check a couple of times to see how he's doing with his goals. It's also up to Kevin to let us know along the way if he has any difficulty with one, because something changed. We know how things are changing these days.
Mhm. Yep. Okay.
I should put my goals in. I should have put that in my director's report, just so everybody knows it, but
Oh,
maybe,
good.
maybe I can make sure that everybody sees those.
Oh, that would be great if you could do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. So then we can harass you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item would be the dinosaur fossil. It's
All right,
still,
I made a call.
I'm sorry, who's this?
This is MA.
Oh, hi. Okay, sorry.
I made a call to the Hebron Library. I'd already gotten the refusal from Gilead Hill. And Hebronell, the principal, and this was about 3 weeks ago, has yet to call me back.
Oh,
I was also calling to speak to him about poetry to see how he could deal with that, but I haven't heard from him.
when does school start?
The end of the month.
The end of
Yeah.
this month? Okay. Okay, so the dinosaur fossil remains where it is basically at this point. Okay.
And we know that it can remain, but I think it would receive more attention if it were moved to a new location.
Kevin, has that been talked about or considered at this point? Or I don't think we mentioned it, have we?
It's just been kind of an ongoing discussion for a long time. And yeah, I'd be very happy if it went to another location where it got a little more foot traffic. But we need to find an appropriate spot, and if the schools want it, then I think it would be appropriate.
Okay, so that's something you could work with MA with on where it's going to go.
Well, I'll keep trying. I'll keep hitting on that principle.
Yeah, I am. I'm just wondering when business, school's going to start. He should be in his office at this point. So just keep trying. We'll go from there. Okay. Thank you for your work on this, by the way. Okay, the next thing is new business. Discussion of programs for the senior center. Has anyone been in contact with Sharon? Yes.
I reached out to her briefly. We had a small discussion about it, and I know that I think you were going to speak to her as well.
Yep.
But yeah, we didn't have a lengthy chat. I just told her that we were going to be speaking about it at we're supposed to be our last month meeting, and I just wanted her to be aware and that we would maybe bring ideas after that.
Okay. And Donna, you said that it would be possible maybe to have simulcast with the senior center. You're muted, Donna.
Yeah, I think we could work something out. We would have to test our technology, but I don't see why we couldn't figure something out.
So we wouldn't have to purchase anything new.
We would need to test it first. I don't know exactly what they have at the senior center for their television, if it's a smart TV, or if we would need to connect a laptop for it, if it is interactive, or if we're just sending out the information. We would need to know more about how the program would be implemented and what they have for technology.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Yeah, if anybody has any ideas about what type of programs would be something that population would be interested in, please share them with Kevin. And
I'd like to add something in there too, Pat.
yeah, sorry.
As the liaison to the senior center, when the seniors are allowed to go back in the building, and those lunches will be starting August 23rd again.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's when they're supposed to start. Things are changing rapidly.
Yeah,
But I had proposed that Kevin come in during that birthday luncheon when, as you know, Pat, the most people attend, and give a talk such as he did at We Are Hebron and explain to all the members what the library offers. A lot of these people still look at the library as it was 10 or 15 years ago. They don't understand what it's using. They have questions on how to access it. And that's a big population that I think we need to serve better.
okay, that sounds like a great idea. I wonder, well, Kevin, one of the things you might want to talk to them about is doing a tour with the library.
The van could, if it's not out on other calls, as they could bring some people up.
I mean, that might be a nice idea.
Yeah.
Because nothing's like seeing it in action. So, okay. I should be getting in touch with Sharon sometime tomorrow. Next week. I've been working on a brief, which I finished today. Yippee. And it was not brief. Okay. Let's see. Next thing would be the letter from the historic. Oh my God. Historic Properties Commission about the locker placement, which I believe is in our packet.
I can share that.
It is. I'll speak about that. First, it was greatly appreciated that the topic was turned over to us to take a look at. And several of us went down to look at the library to see how the lockers might fit in. And we went beyond that. We were not really positive about the location right there at the main entrance, because the locker, it just simply does not fit well there. But we suggested that it be put up on the front door. There would have to be some changes. The ramp that goes up would have to be added about 4 more steps worth. And we were hoping that the lockers could be somewhat camouflaged to fit into the Queen Anne style of the original library. And the reason I don't know if any of you looked at it, but I sent on a history of it. Am I getting all this back, or can everyone hear me or no?
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were hoping that they could be painted, they could have something added, color could be changed to make them fit into any location better. What the heck?
It is. Do you have another phone on or something?
No.
No.
What I'll do is, if I can shoot.
We
This
don't
is
want
not
to lose
working.
you.
I'm going to hold it up this way and see if that's better.
Okay.
The other thing is, while we were there looking,
Very good.
we studied that donation bin, which is absolutely ugly, unattractive, obtrusive, et cetera, et cetera. So we thought potentially that bin could be demolished And we looked to the right of it, and I asked, where does this go? And I pointed to a spot on the wall, and it goes down into the lower room, lower control room, just outside, well, a part of where the friends store all of their books. So we thought, well, we could put in drill through, cut through, add a slide, and the books, instead of going into that ugly bin, could just take a ride right down into that lower room, and they'd be right where the friends would like to work on them and store them, and it would be save so much time and effort. So we took both items, looked at them, considered them, and I think made some good suggestions. I know Kevin thinks that we probably can't do the front entrance because we'd have to add more ramp and railing and so on there, perhaps lighting and security and whatever. But we
Yeah.
felt that the lockers would fit there better than there's no perfect spot down at the main entrance. But anyway, we much appreciated the opportunity to study it.
Oh, well, thank you. Kevin, did you have any suggestions or ideas at this point?
I think Emma did a great job explaining it. I think I liked both the suggestions that they came up with. I just think that they're a bit more involved than we are able to take on at this point, both because they're both a little bit on the expensive side. We'd have to put a ramp in by the front entrance, and then the idea of we'd have to lay. There's not even concrete where there would be if they ended up more like in the front of the building. So I could see either of those places being an eventual home for the lockers if this ends up being a popular thing and we stick with it, or perhaps even add more of them. But for the time being, knowing that we have to spend the ARPA money a little bit on the quick side, and we need to have everything ready for installation in a month and a half, I just don't think it's practical right now for those two locations. But I do like them. I think that maybe it's something, if we're interested in the ideas as a board, then we can discuss moving in that direction over the next few years. And there's nothing that says that we couldn't move the lockers if we didn't decide that there was a better spot for them. It would just be a matter of installing the power and the internet port wherever we wanted them to be. So short term, I like the idea of putting them next to the book return as I proposed before. And long term, we can work towards that. I like the idea of the Friends book drop quite a bit too. I'm not exactly, no more research would have to be done to see how that would work in practice, but I think it could potentially be a really good thing.
Sounds great. Yeah, because those lockers can be moved, correct? Once they're in. I mean, it's not like we're bolting them down or anything like that.
We are bolting them down, but it doesn't mean they can't be moved still. It's just a couple of bolts. Yeah.
So it's something that we could consider later.
Right. Yeah.
If we happen to run into some money somewhere.
Yeah. Or maybe we even decide that we want to add a second set of them and we put the second set over there or something like that. That would be an option too.
Yeah. The only thing I'm concerned about with the front entrance is ADA access.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, railings and appropriate things there. I mean, to me, that is a fairly narrow stair as it is. So that's something we'd have to investigate to see.
We found that there would be room enough to extend the ramp and go up there to the right of the stairs.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that we looked at that and it would work.
Okay. Don't there have to be railings on the side of the ramp too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That
Kevin couldn't put it into his drawing project.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, and it's the right slant too. We don't want anybody wheeling down the ramp and going out in the street. So, okay. Well, that's something to consider and think about. Kevin, are there any grants for ADA access to something?
Yeah, I think there are. I think actually the same building grant we're looking at right now. I think that does allow for some ADA building projects. So that may be something to look into.
Okay, great.
Because
Great.
it's not a huge project doing that, I don't think, and they could potentially cover half of it if the town was willing to cover the rest.
Okay, well, that's something also to keep in mind, that there may be funds available for that, and we would get assistance for that in terms of design and whatnot too. So that'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions regarding these issues? No? Okay, security lighting.
I'm not sure whose agenda item this is.
I think I threw it in. And I can't remember why now because it was 2 months ago. What do we have in the back for security lighting?
Oh, you mean the back parking lot?
Well, I was thinking, with those new tents that are out there and so on, or potentially, or even if we put the lockers out there, or in general, what do we have for security lighting out back?
I don't really think there's much of anything back there as far as security lighting goes. There's no cameras or anything either. There's the parking lot lights. But yeah, I think there's maybe a small floodlight above the emergency exit, and that's about it.
I've spoken to Andy a couple of times about that because I really think for security, there needs to be cameras back there. That parking lot, when it came into being, is attractive to teenagers and other folks who might not want to be seen because it is kind of dark back there. So there's a lot that could happen and we wouldn't be aware of it. So I've thought that some lighting and a camera would be very desirable there.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Where would that funding come from, Gail?
It wouldn't be funding. The cameras in and of themselves are not what is expensive. Installing more lights back there is a big
Yeah.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, that parking lot has lights, but not as much to make me happy.
No, I've been out there at night and it's, it's minimal, basically.
Right, it's very dim.
Yeah, very dim and very focused too downward. Okay. Okay, moving on. All right, so that's something we need to put. I think we need to keep that on the agenda if we could. And then SEPA compliance, you talked about that already, haven't you?
No, not to this extent. So, so SEPA compliance is Child Internet Protection Act. And in order to get in compliance with SEPA, which we need to do to use some of the grant funds that we just have, we need to have a computer and internet Wi-Fi use policy that meets up with what SEPA requires. We need to have a public hearing on that policy to allow the public to respond. And then we need to install filtering on our public computers. So one step would be to make sure that our policy is in line with what it needs to be. So I made a couple of edits to it to add areas where it looked like it was maybe missing a little bit from what the act required. So if you look in your packet, there's the highlighted yellow areas are the ones that I've changed. So let's share that back again. So in the second paragraph, this is our existing computer use policy. But previously it said the Douglas Library of Hebron does not monitor and has no control over the information accessed through the internet and cannot be held responsible for its content. So if we're introducing filtering to the internet, I thought we should get rid of that no and put limited control over the information accessed to the internet, just to be more accurate.
So there's no monitoring of what's going on.
There's no monitoring. There's the filter, I mean, it's not active monitoring, but it blocks things. So it's a monitoring of sorts.
Should we say something about, passive monitoring system or something like that?
We could. I just didn't know how specific we wanted to be. I thought
No,
broad was
I'm
fine.
just trying to make it sound a bit better.
Okay.
When you see nots and no's, you immediately, it makes people start pause on that word.
Okay.
So if we can just do it more. And what do you mean by limited control?
I mean that there'll be filtering software in place. We can turn it off for adult patrons if they request. I'm not sure that we could turn it off for children if their parents requested it, but we couldn't do it just at a child's request.
Okay, so
A little bit of a limitation there.
so there's no way for a patron to turn it off.
Not on their own. No, not in our current setup. If we had like a computer access system that mapped patron cards to the computers that they were using, then you could personalize like their user session with the level of security that they want. But the way that we're set up here, it's more of a blanket thing. So we would just have to take it up and change it ourselves.
So we have more than limited control then.
I suppose, I mean, just we don't have complete control is what I was trying to get at there.
Okay. Again, the word limited, no, immediately my eyes drawn to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you can give that a little bit more juice, would be great.
Do you have any suggestions or anything?
Not off the top of my head right now. Except getting, we have a monitoring system, right? And which controls has control over the information, or is meant to control the information assessed, something like that?
Yeah, filtering isn't, I don't know if that's the same as a monitoring system. The Douglas Library of Hebron's access to the internet is filtered for objectionable content, which can be, but patrons have the ability to turn it off if they request.
Yeah, but basically patrons can't do anything to it without your permission and your help, right?
Yeah, my help, not so much my permission. The permission is if they want it, they can have it.
If a 10-year-old child says, can I go watch? Yeah, never mind. Okay, so I think we can make that a stronger statement, perhaps. Okay.
So this next chunk is taken directly from the policy. This is just something that they wanted, that they asked that the internet policy mention this kind of specifically. So I just took their exact wording and put it in so we could say we did what they wanted. So to the extent practical, steps shall be taken to promote the safety and security of users of the Douglas Library of Hebron's online computer network when using electronic mail, chat rooms, instant messaging, and other forms of direct communications. I think I took this from the state library's computer policy, actually.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great. And then, were there any other changes?
Yeah, about a little bit further down in the bullet points. So we had this bullet point that I thought would just cover us for whatever, and we wouldn't have to change the policy. But so providing minors with access to materials that are harmful to them as defined by the Child Internet Protection Act. The tendency for other policies that, like the state library has a lot of example ones on their website, is to list out these specific things that are mentioned in the Child Internet Protection Act. So I just decided to put them underneath this bullet once again, just to be very clear that we are trying to, that we are in compliance with this act. So this language comes from that act directly. Okay. Unauthorized access, including so-called hacking and other unlawful activities by minors online, and unauthorized disclosure, use, and dissemination of personal information regarding minors.
Okay, Sounds great. Did anyone else have any comments or thoughts on this? Okay. Oh,
Okay, so if we'll have to work, I guess, on that top area a little bit more. So what we'll need is the board to eventually approve this, and then I'm thinking the following meeting, we could
Okay.
hold a public hearing ahead of the regular meeting. You know, generally, probably most likely wouldn't have anybody show up for it, but have the regular meeting maybe start at 7:10 instead of 7 or something like that, and do the public hearing then. So maybe October at this point is maybe what we're looking at.
so our regular notice for this meeting will also include the time period for a public hearing.
Yes, I believe so. I've seen that done before in other agendas, so I make sure I'm doing it correctly. But
Okay.
that would be my thought, to make it easier for everybody, so we could do it without having to have a separate meeting.
Okay, and that would have to be published too, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Public hearing, yeah, okay. Okay, Gail, did you have anything to say about that? Is she still there?
Well, oh, yes, you said Gail, huh?
I did.
Okay, do I have,
We were talking about notice for a public hearing.
no,
And
I thought he had it covered. If we have the,
I mean,
gonna say,
I was asking you if that notice would be okay, like the one we do for the regular meeting.
yes, don't forget, we're going to change the time of the regular meeting, have the public meeting first, and it will be, a legal notice will go out on it, so that's what we need to do.
Okay. No, I was just wondering about the notice period, if it was the same. Didn't
Hmm.
know. Okay. Is there any other new business?
So can we just go back? It's gonna be all one meeting, or is it gonna be two separate meetings?
Well, it doesn't have to be two separate meetings, even if they take place concurrently.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I thought.
then the regular meeting becomes a special meeting unless you schedule it 30 days in advance.
Okay.
So you might want to think about the public hearing at 6:45.
Okay, and we're also thinking of October at this point, so we do have 30 days, but we could do the public hearing at
Right.
45. That would be fine.
We would have time to schedule, to change the meeting to a regular meeting at 7:15, but just be aware that we have that time.
30
Fine.
days?
Yep.
Is there any preference? Because I can do that right away and make sure we get in the window to start a little bit earlier, start a little bit later.
Well, is there anyone have a preference to that? Donna, any preference?
Is it this night that we would have strategic planning?
Yeah,
Ooh,
well,
Ooh,
yeah. Right, now we're doing triple meetings.
Right.
we'd be meeting out.
So so maybe 7 is better then, to aim for that, because then that gives us more of a buffer between meetings.
And if the meeting becomes a special meeting, our agendas are usually detailed, so I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah, sure.
okay. Sounds good. I have to learn all these notice periods and all this rigmarole here, so I know better. Okay, is there any other new business? Hearing none. Moving on to the strategic plan committees. Safe space? No, any reports from the strategic plan committees or this, or I guess would be subcommittees?
Donna and I met for technology last Thursday, and we discussed putting together a technology plan, and we discussed our phones a little bit. What else did we talk about, Donna? I don't have it on the tip of my tongue. Look at my notes.
Computer replacement and plan as part of the technology plan. And then we discussed some of the things we've already talked about.
Yeah, we talked about the policy a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like that would be like SEPA too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Let's see. Anyone else? Diversity, community, lifelong learning?
I don't have anything that.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add to strategic plan committees? No? Are we at adjournment early?
I think so.
Oh my goodness. Okay. May I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
I was going to say nobody wants to leave. Okay. And all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The meeting is adjourned.
Kevin, was that MA who seconded that motion?
I actually missed it. MA, was that you who seconded it or?
yep, I
'Cause
did.
both Beth and MA lit up, so.
I think it was probably MA because Beth was.
It was.
at the moment. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought I heard MA doing it.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Night.
Good night.